Hi, it's your friendly neighborhood bone collector Zero here. If you see me looking off to the side, I have a script. Don't mind that. I'm just trying to keep my thoughts straight. I also apologize. I'm having some allergy issues, so if I'm sniffling and snuffling, I apologize in advance. Besides that, welcome to the first actual content video of the channel, and coincidentally, welcome to the first video of a series that I've been planning called Vulture Shock. That's a little play on words. So you have vulture culture, which is the practice of collecting dead things, and then you have culture shock, which, as you probably know, is when you go from one place to another, and then it's like, oh my god, that's so wild. So the purpose of this series is that I'm hoping to highlight different macabre practices from around the world, or generally just things that are perceived as odd and unusual by people who are not of that culture. I've got a couple different ideas ranging from burial rites to festivals, historic sites, and even jewelry, which is where today's topic will be taking us. I wanted to start off kind of nice, kind of easy, nothing too crazy, and discuss jewelry made from hair. As you probably saw in the title of today's video, we are going to be going over Victorian hair art. So while the idea of wearing human hair apart from wigs might make people nowadays kind of squeamish, it certainly wasn't always the case. Hair art, specifically human hair art, became popularized in Europe around the 17th or 18th centuries, though as far as I could find, it possibly started back in even the 12th and 13th centuries in Europe. The origin here is fairly dark, as hair art and hair jewelry was frequently used as tokens of remembrance. They were memento moris, if you will, for children that had passed due to illnesses. In Europe during this time, many children were passing away. Infant and child mortality rates were super high. You had unnameable fevers, you had smallpox, you had influenza, you had scarlet fever. Everything was just running rampant, and medicine wasn't advanced enough to be able to combat these diseases and save these children's lives. Take a break from this ad, just for a moment. We'll come back to it, I promise. Let's fast forward a little bit to the Victorian era. As I said, hair art became popularized in the 17th and 18th centuries, but this is when it boomed. Hair work had a massive surge in popularity under the rule of Queen Victoria for a number of reasons, not just as items from past loved ones. Now, these items were actually seen as tokens of friendship. One example of this is in 1855, when Queen Victoria visited with Empress Eugenie, the wife of Napoleon III, on the Queen's trip to Versailles. The two women exchanged these intricately woven hairwork bracelets, and if I'm not mistaken, the one from Queen Victoria actually included her own hair in it. At this point, it had become common practice to exchange hair work or even just locks of hair as a symbol of friendship or even romance. Several young girls were putting little locks of their hair in postcards or valentines and sending them to their lovers. Engagement and wedding rings often had the couple's hair set into the bands. It was now a regular and fashionable trend, and some people even considered the items as a status symbol with how intricately they were done, although the practice was seen as regularly affordable. Now, if this had become a purely joyful habit, we probably wouldn't be talking about it here, considering this is a fairly morbid-focused channel. As many people know, Queen Victoria was something of an icon in mourning culture. When her husband, Prince Albert, passed away in 1861, she continued to mourn his death for the next 40 years, until she too passed away in 1901. 40 years, which is incredible. She was known for wearing black, and on the trend of hair jewelry, she wore a locket of his hair during those 40 years, which is very sweet in its own way. Coincidentally, in 1861, at the start of the Civil War, hair work was also making its way to the US. Soldiers were leaving pieces of their hair with their family, and the family was leaving their hair with soldiers, and unfortunately, a lot of times, that hair would make it back to the family with news of a fallen soldier. Very unfortunate, and it's a very sad thing considering that it had also come to be known as a fairly happy thing. You have relationships building, and following that, you have relationships gone. Now, as with many trends like we constantly see on the internet today, Victorian hair art also took a steep decline in popularity. This began around the end of the Victorian era when people from this time started to be viewed as overly sentimental and emotional people, and the idea of keeping a past loved one's hair started to be viewed as a rather morbid practice, which, to be fair, if you ask most people nowadays, they would agree with that statement. But what really caused the decline in popularity of this art form was actually the start of World War I in the 20th century. The reason for this being, women were now cutting their hair short to better suit the new jobs they had and the newfound independence that they had gained after the men left for war, funnily enough. And since these really nicely braided accessories required longer lengths of hair, it was harder to make them because most women nowadays had the shorter pin curls and things like that. So they just physically couldn't be made. Due to this, the practice of making jewelry from these tresses just faded. Faded, but didn't disappear. No. The use of hair and sentimental objects has not disappeared, and even the art form of making accessories out of human hair has not completely vanished. It's still a fairly common practice for parents to keep hair from their child's first haircut as a sentimental token. One of the most interesting modern examples, though, that I can find of this art form is actually a creator that goes by Zen of HairAnthropology. She makes these intricately woven pieces of hair jewelry, and they are absolutely incredible. And I'm talking bracelets, rings, chokers, more. It's stunning. Not only is her work incredible, but a big part of what she does is focusing on the sustainability of using human hair as a medium to make these accessories, which I'm all for sustainability, so it furthers my respect for this art. And should you be interested on how to get started on your own hair work journey, well, guess what? Zen is an educator on that front, offering both classes and the equipment to be able to get started yourself on her website, which I will have linked down below. And if you're not interested in learning how to do it yourself, but you'd still be interested in owning this type of work, sometimes she takes commissions. You will definitely have to go check out her page. She has a commissions page, so you can see if and when she's open to be able to take on a new project. Regardless, I highly recommend you check out Zen's pages. I will have her TikTok, Instagram, and her website linked down below. So if you are interested in that, please go check it out. I definitely think it's worthwhile to look at a creator that is continuing a dying art in such a beautiful and delicate way. All right, so I think that just about does it for this video. Final note, if you happen to be in the US, and for some reason, maybe this video, you're fascinated by Victorian hair art, I suggest you take a trip to Independence, Missouri, and go visit Layla's Hair Museum. There are over 2,400 pieces on display, including both wreaths and jewelry, all made of hair. I haven't personally been, but from the pictures and reviews that I could see, a lot of people are saying that it's worthwhile going, and from what I could see, it looks really cool, so I suggest you check it out. I myself hope I can visit one day. Thanks again to Zen from HairAnthropology for letting me use some of your clips in this video, and I highly suggest that you guys go check her page out because, you know, super cool work. It's just fascinating. I don't know how she does it, honestly. If you guys know anybody who displays this type of work or makes this type of work, feel free to drop them down in the comments. I'm certainly interested in learning more about this art form. And thank you guys for checking in. I promise this YouTube thing will get better as time goes on. As always, leave any suggestions related to the macabre, the creepy, any vulture culture topics, whatever you want, leave them down below. I love researching stuff. And I think that's all. So until next time, I will see you later. Bye-bye.